We're heading to the Philippines.
Mummies in the jungle, in the mountains, in caves.
They mummified their dead.
Where did you find it?
And placed them in caves.
Preservation technique is amazing with these mummies.
High in the jungle, they've survived for centuries.
We're on our way across rugged terrain to uncover the ancient methods of mummification.
This proves that this individual was in a death chair. And to help the people tell the story of their past.
I'm Ron Beckett.
I'm Jerry Conlogue.
By day, we're professors.
We teach live people.
But our passion is mummies.
We take our gear
X-ray machines and endoscopes.
on the road.
You'd be surprised where mummies turn up.
And who's got them?
There isn't a mummy we won't investigate.
The mountains in the northern Philippines cradle a remote jungle region called Kabayan.
Our guide is 80-year-old Baban Barong. He leads us to the ancient burial site of his ancestors.
He's a member of the Ibaloy tribe. They've inhabited this land for about 700 years. He is unwrapping a small bundle. How is it? I'm not sure if there's anything in it. Ah.
Yeah. Ah, delicate.
It's beautiful condition.
We've come to learn about the Kabayan mummies from Baban and his people.
And to help confirm what oral history has taught them about the death rituals of their ancestors.
In the mountains around Kabayan are dozens of burial caves. Locals claim they contain over 100 mummies, though many more have turned into skeletons.
This cave tomb is packed, every nook and cranny filled with wooden coffins.
I was 13 years old when my father showed me this cave. I'm now 80.
Baban grew up with these mummies. He talks to their spirits and knows their stories better than anyone.
When a family dies, it is usually the father, the husband and wife. And then after that, if the coffin is not yet filled up, their children could be placed. It is considered a family coffin.
It is just beautiful.
According to Baban, the entire cave is home to an extended family, and they've been here for centuries.
But a threat looms. Mummies are being stolen from these caves and sold on the black market.
One man's on a mission to protect them and to gather as much information as possible.
Well, here's my baby mommy. He's well preserved.
Orlando Abignon is an engineer turned conservator who works for the National Museum in Manila. We heard about his attempt to document the health, history, and mummification practice of the ancient Ibaloy people.
We came here to help.
With radiography and endoscopy, we hope to contribute to the story of the Kabayan mummies.
But getting here was no small feat.
Our journey began with a 15-hour flight across the top of the world.
To the bustling city of Manila.
After a 6-hour ride north on the island of Luzon, we reached the province of Benguet, the gateway to the Cordillera mountain range.
From then on, it was rough riding.
We got here just in time for the rainy season. Landslides sometimes make the route to Kabayan impassable. A lot of the road that was up here is now down there.
But the local pit stops gave us some relief.
Now this is something you don't see every day. Your soft drink served in a bag. Refreshing.
For 3 more hours, we continued to cross more muddy hillsides.
And that's how we ended up here in Kabayan Central.
With Baban, Orlando, and the welcoming committee.
Welcome.
Thank you.
But a friendly greeting soon leads to a warning.
One important condition was not to bring out the mummies outside the cave.
What are the ones in Disney taboo?
Yeah.
Tabu peju sunan si karaju.
It's taboo to bring them out.
It's taboo for us to bring them out. Otherwise, we might be cursed by the spirits. Yeah.
Following ancient tradition, the village elders sing to their ancestors, whose mummified bodies rest in the Kabayan hills.
We honor their spirits with traditional rice wine.
And they will live a long life.
The next part of the ritual is crucial for our work to take place.
3 black pigs must be sacrificed to get permission from the mummy's spirits.
Now the fate of our journey lies in the pig's belly. The spirits communicate their decision through the liver.
And the priest interprets.
It's the gallbladder. Yeah. Everything is okay.
Yes, it is acceptable to work with the mummies around Kabayan.
We're ready to go.
We start at the museum in town. Orlando wants us to examine a female mummy.
She was stolen from her burial site, but eventually recovered and returned to the museum.
She's in about the best condition of any mummy Orlando's seen. We want to find out if she's as well preserved on the inside as she is on the outside.
She's in a great state of preservation, isn't she?
We'll x-ray the chest first to see what remains in the cavity.
Half second,
Changing to 804.
maybe more current, in 5 seconds.
It went over to 20.
It would have gone to 20 if I didn't stop.
It's a little bit complicated.
It's a little complicated. Thank goodness Jerry does all the thinking. Ah, good one, Jerry. Very good picture, Jerry.
It doesn't look like from a mummy.
No,
Looks like from a living.
This is incredible. Your airway, your trachea, has these rings on it, so it doesn't collapse. And I can see the edge of the ring, it's the dark dashed line coming all the way down to here. And this is going out to the left lung. There's also these other areas that may be lung tissue.
So far, the mummification technique proves effective.
But there's something curious about this mummy. An incision in her lower abdomen. According to oral tradition, the Ebeloid didn't eviscerate the body at death.
Ron's endoscope gives us a better view. Some of the organs are missing, but the intestines are there.
This is where decomposition starts in the intestine. So you would imagine that either they would decompose very quickly and be gone, or that the people preserving the body would remove the intestines.
Jerry, why would there be a cut if the intestines are still there?
I don't know. The uterus is in front of the intestines, and it's gone. The lungs are in place, the intestines are there,
The
liver is there. So they didn't open the person up to remove the intestines and the liver.
So maybe the cut has nothing to do with the mummification process.
Julia Igloso, who oversees the Kabayan Museum, joins the investigation.
She recalls another tradition passed down orally about the fate of women who were dying in childbirth.
When the baby is due, they will dissect the stomach by using a sharp knife or a bamboo sharpened.
So they would do a primitive surgical procedure
Yeah.
to take the child out.
My mom says they die, and the baby is forced to sip with sugar cane, the juice of the sugar cane. That's the milk. And then the baby survived.
So the incision may have been the result of a cesarean section performed to save the life of the child.
The mother was then cared for in death, her body preserved for eternity.
So this oral history seems to be based on truth. But just how did the people of Kabayan make a mummy in the jungle? Decomposition is caused by bacteria that thrive in heat and humidity.
In desert environments like Egypt and parts of Peru, the arid climate facilitates natural mummification of the dead.
Based on what they saw happening in nature, these cultures developed techniques to make mummies themselves.
But in this part of the Philippines, the rainy season lasts half the year, making natural preservation impossible.
So the Ebeloid didn't get the idea for mummification from nature.
Instead, They had to fight it every step of the way.
When Baban was young, he asked his elders what mummification techniques the ancestors used.
They told me that right after the demise of a person, with the family dissolves a large amount of salt with water.
The salt solution is poured down the throat to flush out all bacteria and prevent decomposition of the organs.
So none of the organs are removed. The body is then placed in a death chair.
At night, a fire is lit beneath it to slowly dry the body out.
He sits there like that. And when he seated in the chair, they tied the mouth to the chair.
The ears and mouth are plugged to keep insects from laying eggs in the body.
Even in the eyes.
Medicinal plants, including guava leaves and ginger root, are crushed and rubbed into the skin for their antiseptic properties.
The process is repeated over and over again, day after day.
It takes even up to 6 months.
6 months?
6 months.
But that's not all.
While the body is still flexible, the position is changed.
He is tied in this position because he has to be carried to the mountain to be buried.
According to Baban, only the elite members of society were mummified.
The practice declined after the Spanish conquest and died out entirely in the 18th century. Yet today, the mummies maintain an important presence in the community.
And we're ready to meet them. Baban and Orlando will take us to a burial site overlooking the town.
We're headed to Timbuk, and just down from Timbuk are caves with mummies, and that's where we're going to be working.
There are no restaurants up the hill.
Not even a soft drink in a bag.
So Baban takes us shopping for some essentials.
Hold it.
Oh, wow, that's a big one. If our luck and transmission hold, we'll be at the caves in about 3 hours. Baban was saying that surrounding Kabayan is where the caves are up in the mountains. So the ancestors were placed above them in these beautiful, beautiful places where they would be protected, preserved, and if they could see, they would see beauty all around them.
The location of many of the caves is kept secret by the locals. Others are lost to the jungle.
From our base camp at the top of the mountain, it's about a 15-minute descent to the site.
Orlando's taking us to visit 2 small caves where he began his work. They contain about 17 mummies in all.
The caves have been gated to protect the mummies from vandals and thieves.
Before the gate is opened, I must have to offer a prayer.
When Baban visits these caves, he speaks directly to the mummies.
What did you ask the mummies?
I'm telling them that please forgive us if we are disturbing you. It should be known by the world what you have done. As for you, you did not come here if not of these mummies. Salamat pasya. Okay.
The rainy season's begun. First order of business, to protect the mummies and our gear.
We begin our work at the cave where Baban showed us the family of mummies.
The large square coffins were actually built inside the cave and date back to around the 1700s.
The smaller coffins were dug out of tree trunks and date as far back as the 1300s. Baban chooses a baby mummy he's visited often. Heeding the taboo, we bring it to the mouth of the cave, but no farther.
The child's body has deteriorated, but the skull is still intact. If anyone can get information from it, Jerry can.
So it's looking this way.
Like this?
Yeah.
Baban speaks to the child's spirit.
What were you telling us about?
They will x-ray your head.
Time to turn up the juice.
We came all this way. Let's hope it works.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what we have. Power's coming to the unit very nicely.
Ready?
Yes.
I'm gonna get that pack. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen.
These are baby teeth. Okay. And the secondary teeth are here, and you can see this bud. It hasn't descended yet. The baby is telling us how old it is. From looking at these, maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Now Ron will show Baban his way of connecting with the mummies.
I'm going to position the screen so you can see what I'm doing. And you'll be seeing, and you will hold it, okay? Let's see how we're doing here. So now we're going to look at certain features inside the skull. See that line?
The large opening makes it easy to demonstrate his skills and to find something we weren't expecting.
There's an Inca bone. The Inca bone is sort of an extra, small, flat bone that's usually at the junction of where other larger flat bones come together. It used to be thought that it was a signature of South American skulls, but now it has been seen in other cultures. I mean, to pick out one mummy of all of the mummies you have and to find an Inca bone, that's pretty remarkable.
Before we move on, Baban has one more thing to show us.
Oh my goodness.
Here's my ancestor.
This is your ancestor. Beautiful. It is such a large skull.
Clean teeth.
Yeah.
As if he brushes his teeth every day. There might be an Inca here also.
He has learned. Oh my
right
goodness.
here.
Exactly.
Baban's right. The skull does have an Inca bone, just like the baby's.
This is something that is inherited. So this individual was probably related to the baby.
So the family story holds up. Mothers, fathers, children, and grandparents resting here for centuries on end.
The second cave we visit is located just below the first.
The burials here are more recent, and the mummies in better condition.
It's Mr. Abinion who will select the best mummy.
Okay.
You, Orlando.
Orlando has no difficulty choosing a mummy for us to examine. This small child has held up well since its death. But Orlando wonders what ended its life.
Cause of death can be evident from the bones when it's the result of traumatic injury.
But many children in this time period would have died of pneumonia or parasitic diseases, not easily detected by our instruments.
We'll see what we can find.
Jerry starts by taking a Polaroid X-ray.
Very nice job.
That's the second molar. I can't give you an exact date, but I'm thinking more like 5.
Otherwise, the skeleton looks healthy. We'll see what the skull tells us.
I can see it too.
Is it in the rectangle?
Wow. Okay, there's nothing obvious like a big fracture. The bone looks good. It doesn't look like there's any pitted marks along the top.
The cause of death remains a mystery. But guess what?
Looks like an Inca bone. See? Another Inca bone.
Orlando has one last mummy in store for us. He was found in the same coffin as the baby, so Orlando suspects he's the child's father.
The mummy is marked from head to toe with magnificent tattoos.
So the tattoos are very geometric.
Yeah.
According to tradition, the more highly decorated the individual, the greater their social standing.
Orlando explains how marks were made by puncturing the skin with a thorn.
Then they use that as a needle.
So they make the needle first. They make the holes first.
Yeah, they make the holes,
Okay.
then they make the design.
Then they ground charcoal and tomato leaves to form a pigment that's rubbed into the marked skin.
So they rub it on where the holes are and
Right.
the design is left.
And
The meaning of these decorations has been lost over time. One piece of history that didn't survive the passing of generations.
But the tattoos themselves remain intact.
And so do the mummy's flesh and bones. We'll see what he looks like from the inside.
The scope has passed into the cranial vault, into the head. And what you see there is what's left of the brain. The fact that there's brain, correlates nicely with what we've heard, that, the preservation state is very good. There are some intestines. The preservation technique is amazing with these mummies. We're way up here in the mountains, and they've survived the weather and the fog. Pretty remarkable, huh?
It was successfully mummified.
Successful, yes, very successful. So far, our work backs up the stories we've heard about the mummification techniques. We'll see if Jerry's x-rays can tell us more.
Plenty of room in here, Orlando.
I'll be right there, Jerry. Pretty steady.
And there's a bit of old brain tissue there. So the brain tissue settles parallel to the earth, parallel to the floor. So he was probably back about like this. So from what Baban had described as in the death chair with the head back, I think this proves that this individual was in a death chair when he was embalmed, chin back.
And that strapping could have caused a severe arching of the neck. Yeah,
exactly.
Strapping back.
Exactly.
Through these results, it is clear that the process that was described was true, and it coincides with what we learned from our early ancestors.
It makes me feel really good to be able to support some of these oral history tales that have been passed down from generation to generation, and here's the proof. That makes me really happy.
When there is a rainbow, there's a luck. We are very lucky that we are here.
It's right there, Ron.
We've come to learn about the Kabayan mummies from Baban and his people.
So often when we examine mummies, we end up disproving the stories surrounding them.
But here in Kabayan, we're able to support the oral history that's existed for centuries. The C-section of the mother, an extended family buried together, and a body positioned in a death chair.
We also found evidence of incredible preservation.
Wow.
Trachea and lungs, intestines, brain.
By combining the oral history with science, we've come to know the ways of the early Ibaloi.
And we've seen how love and respect for their ancestors survives the test of time.
Now that's impressive.